Wallers.
Here.
Hamlin.
Yeah, here.
Martyr.
Here.
Ramirez. Here. Deal. Here.
Jim is on 88 somewhere headed this way, so we'll see if he makes it before the end of the meeting, but he was not optimistic. Thanks to Christine for filling in as our secretary this evening. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Oswego Public Library District. Our mission exists to provide quality library service which will effectively meet the informational, educational, recreational needs of the district residents of all ages, with a special emphasis on supplying popular materials, providing reference services, assisting students of all ages in meeting their educational needs. First thing we have is a presentation.
Right here? All right.
Sonia,
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, I mentioned that everybody wanted to wait here.
That's okay.
Coming in hot.
You can take a moment if you need to catch your breath.
All righty. So I'm here on behalf of the Village of Montgomery to request the Library District's partnership with the village in offering an economic incentive package that includes a tax abatement to the developer and the future industrial users for large-scale development. That is on the former shearing farm. It's about 204 acres located in the Village of Montgomery. So the property's been for sale for over 20 years and has remained undeveloped farmland. Because this land was not developing, the village had a study for inclusion in the TIF district. However, it did not meet the qualifications to get that particular incentive. So that limits our ability in what we can offer future developers. So we did approve a development which includes new and expanded roads, water main and sanitary main extensions, new bike paths, and nearly 2 million square feet in new buildings. So that development has a total investment of over $300 million, and that includes the public improvements, the building site improvements, and the equipment at least for the one user that they have in line. So we spent the last several months meeting the developer, the various taxing bodies, trying to negotiate an abatement agreement that would make all parties comfortable. So the proposed abatement that you have before you tonight is a 10-year term, which is a little bit long, but it would provide a 75% abatement of property taxes for the first 5 years and a 50% abatement for the last half, so that's years 6 through 10. And that's for both sites, the north site and the south site. So we did get them to agree to clawback provisions within the agreement itself. So the developer will have to pay back any abated taxes should they cease operations or should they fail to pay their taxes. So in those events, we did write in a clawback agreement and they did agree to that. So should for whatever reason they pack up and leave at year 5, any taxes that were abated during those 5 years would have to be repaid to the taxing bodies. So this development is going to benefit the area with an increased EAV of nearly $43 million at full build-out and bring more than 170 jobs to the community. The current EAV for this property is approximately $140,000. The first user is an international company looking to consolidate its Midwest operations. They're going to create this as a hub site for their production and also for their kind of North American distribution center and supporting the related production and laboratory functions. The village is excited to bring this high level of development to the village as well as an industry leader like Oswego, who is their first user of this development. In reviewing the tax extension for this site, the library district currently receives about $358 annually from these parcels. With the increase in EAV, this development will help diversify the district's tax base, increase tax revenues by over $30,000 annually over the next 10 years, with very limited, if any, impact on demand for services from the district. So to date, the Village of Montgomery, the Oswego School District, and the Waubonsie Community College and Oswego Park District have all approved the abatement agreement that's before you tonight. We do respectfully request the library district's partnership and support with the village and this incentive agreement. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
So the company you mentioned, what's their business? What business are
They are a plastics manufacturer and distributor.
they? Okay, and the name again was?
Ravato.
And the abatement is going to Caris, correct?
The abatement has two sites, so the abatement will go to Ravato for their site and to Caris, the developer, for the north site, and they don't have a user for it at this time. So once they get a user for it, they will probably be assigning that abatement to that industrial user, and they will be bound by the terms of the agreement.
So Sonia, we'll immediately be getting the 25% of the tax, so it's not like a tip where the entire amount is withheld. This is going to give us part of the tax.
Correct. So once they have that initial assessment, so that that tax year, when it's actually tax paid, we will receive 25% of the levy.
And that's 10 years in the future. Is that?
So for a period of 10 years. So you will receive 25% for the first 5 years of that 10-year period, and then for the last half of it, you'll be receiving 50%.
Okay.
And then after that,
Then it
you'll
goes
receive 100%.
back to 25, 50.
100% of this now, then 25, or 25 and then 50. So Montgomery's been a good friend.
We try to be.
We're sitting on land that they got for us from a developer, so we
That is true.
appreciate the partnership for many years.
Indeed.
Any other questions?
And Sarah, there's no houses here, so there's no real effect to the district in terms of manpower or issues relative to services, right?
No, there's no impact, there's no library card users in industrial complex, and in addition, that would make, we have a lot of residents that kind of make a varied income stream for us as well.
Yeah.
So the developer's they're already purchased, they're already working on agreements.
They purchased the land, they have begun improvements with the mutual understanding that we're all working towards this abatement agreement. So they've gotten their site development permits, we've issued the permit for Ravago, and so they have begun construction on the site with the understanding that we are all working towards getting this agreement put together.
Any further questions? If not, I would suggest that we also have an action item later in the agenda, 13E, and 13E1 is actually the motion. I would entertain that motion at this time while Sarah is here.
I'll make a motion to approve the Caris Ravago tax abatement agreement.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I have comments. So, I mean, this one to me is, we're looking at giving it a tax, and I understand that the audit's already did it, but we're looking at giving tax break to a certain private entity. And, you know, I just have an underlying principle that I don't think the government should be doing that in these cases. It's like, if this development's gonna stand on its own, it should stand on its own. And I'm not really, I know we have a partnership with them on other deals, but that's a separate from this. And, do we do this for every company that comes along and wants to build? What about the small business that's out here on Route 25 in Montgomery that's part of our district? Would we do that for anybody else that comes along with us? So So that's when I
They
see
haven't
these.
requested it.
Huh?
I said, I don't know, they haven't requested it, so.
I mean, could you speak to the reasoning behind the request for the abatement on the company and then also like the village?
Right, so the developer is looking at a site that, I don't quite understand the scale of 200 acres. So this is a significantly large site that requires a great deal of public infrastructure that needs to be brought into it in order for it to even be developable. So there's a significant amount, I believe around $60 million worth of public improvements that need to be brought in between bringing a road in to actually service the property and create these developable lots, to actually building the road that goes to the Oswego Fire District. That Galena Road there is actually a temporary road that was built nearly 20 years ago in partnership between the village, the two landowners where that road goes through, as well as the fire district. So that was a temporary road that was put in. Part of the agreement, the annexation agreement, was that whenever somebody finally builds on this land, it's their requirement to put in the permanent road and expand it to standard size. So, there was a lot of investment that had to go through this, and a lot of developers just weren't willing to do that. So it's not like the village hasn't seen interest in the property over the past 20 years, but what it costs to actually, and what it requires to actually build it has been a hurdle that people have walked away from time and time again. So for the village to get a developer that's willing to do that, but is asking for help, the village, we've had people walk away, we look at doing a TIF district so that we could hopefully help with those public infrastructure improvement costs. With it not being eligible for that, our hands are tied and what kind of incentives that we can offer. We have a developer and a company that are looking at spending $300 million on this property to invest it and create this this industrial park, but also to create for Oswego their home. So this is going to be their Midwest home. So this is a company that is looking to invest in our town quite a bit of money in creating their piece. And so we've been trying to partner with them as best we can to make that a project that happens, bring jobs into town. And again, for the village, and I'm sure it is for the library district as well, is to be diversifying our tax base so that we're lessening our burden on our residents as far as taxes is concerned. So making sure that we are incentivizing and encouraging commercial and industrial development is a way that we can do that. The village does not offer these kind of incentives to every developer that comes into town, nor do we offer sales tax incentives to every other commercial business that comes into town. We find different ways to support our businesses, and in this case, this is a significant investment and a long-standing base. So we felt this was an appropriate incentive to try to work through to make sure that this happens. But they have specifically said if they can't get this abatement, they will walk away from this. So they went at their own risk, but we understand that should they not get the abatement, as they hope to get the abatement, there is a good chance that they will be walking away from this project. They will sell the land, they will sell the building, and they will seek to go somewhere else.
How many jobs are created?
So they're estimating about 170 jobs altogether. We're looking at 80 jobs to start with Roboto's first phase, and then that will be increasing as they get established and then as they do their additions. And then with the north site, they're anticipating similar job numbers over there. So.
Do you have the total value of this abatement in here? Has that been calculated?
I don't have the total value in front of me across all districts, but I know just for the libraries piece, we are looking at about maybe $550,000 top end over the 10-year period. So, for the developer.
I was trying to place it, and if I'm right, Galena comes across, it's got the traffic light on Orchard, and the fire station is down the end towards Caterpillar, the
Yes.
old Caterpillar building. So it's from there going south to the tracks,
Yes.
and that's where they come off the Burlington Northern with the spring.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, could we have a roll call, please?
Wallers,
Yes.
Hamblin?
Yes.
Martyr?
No.
Ramirez?
Yes.
Deal? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to our minutes. There's a number of minutes, regular, closed, finance committee minutes. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion for the approval of the regular, closed, and finance committee minutes for April 24, 2024.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, questions, comments? Hearing none, roll call please.
Martyr?
Yes.
Deal? Yes. Ramirez?
Yes.
Hamblin?
Yes,
Waller?
Yes.
thank you. Okay, correspondence. Sarah?
Can't find my comment cards, so I'll do a quick rundown of what they were. The children are very loud. They asked for the staff to keep the children more quiet. They said that the fragrance was kind of deep in the study rooms. We checked and we think maybe that was a prior person that was in the room versus the rooms themselves. They don't like the doors in the bathrooms if they're open. They thought maybe there would be a way to have the doors themselves. I did mention the first floor at the Oswego campus has doors. They do like the little carts that have been added to the study rooms, and we also now have little tables outside the bathrooms to place their books and things. So that was a comment card with just some suggestions, which I will find.
What was the problem in the study rooms?
There was fragrance in there. She thought the deodorizer smell was too much, and she said she's allergic to perfumes and such. But we went in there, we think maybe, because there is something in there, but it's non-fragrance, we think maybe some teens or something might have been in there.
Okay. Any other correspondence?
That was it.
That's it. Thank you, Sarah. Moving on to financials. Get things started, could I have a motion on the fund balance and so on?
Motion for the approval of fund balance and revenue expense reports.
Thanks, Jim. Second. Thank you. Emily? Questions, comments? Sarah, tell us about it.
A couple things under miscellaneous income, you'll see there is a credit of $37,000. That was Sarah, when she was doing the bills, paid training twice. So training was returning our funds. Oversight when someone's not used to doing the bills. But you will see that it's 101%, that's without the income from May and June, so we're fine with the income. As we go to expenses, you'll see that miscellaneous is a little high. That's because we have a study in there that we were not expecting to do on the bookmobile. And on page 11, for the adult services expenses, that also includes the Friends of the Library paying for some programs, including a bat program, a live bat program. Are there questions on any of the line items? Oh, I did also want to mention on page 17, you'll see the transition fees are listed there for Oswego and Plainfield. And that's in the special reserve directly.
And remind us, we receive it directly from two of the entities, but a third one?
We receive it directly from Plainfield, Oswego, and Montgomery. Will County Unincorporated is an agreement from 1986, and that comes from the developer. It's $85, and that is required to go into our operating fund, which is why that's an income and operating fund. I believe we've had two this year, which we had not had many for like 10 years. We hadn't had any. All the other ones we do put into special reserve because they go directly to the buildings themselves.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please, Christine.
Carter.
Yes.
Ramirez. Yes. Steele. Yes. Hamblin.
Yes.
Wallers.
Yes.
Accounts payable.
Motion for approval of the May 2024 bills, amount of $498,845.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay. Sarah?
Page 19, book page, that's both digital and print, that is paid for by the Friends. They reimburse us for that. On page 22, that is the Incredible Bats. That's the bat program they're reimbursing for. You'll also see on page 22 checks to Kane County Treasurer. Those are for 111 and 109 North Street. We do pay taxes, property taxes, because that's not something that we have yet to put in the bills in case we sell a property or something. We don't take it off the tax rolls until the board decides what to do.
These are for the, not for this property, but for the other.
The one in the downtown Montgomery, because there's no library facility, we can't make it a, there's actually 2 businesses on it.
You know, we pay that even if we're not renting.
Right.
Okay.
On page 24, you'll see both Oswego High School and Oswego East. Those are for the yearbooks. We buy those each year. We have a yearbook collection going back to the 40s for Oswego High School. And then on page 26, Cersei Dynex Corporation, that is our annual renewal, as well as an acquisitions, which has to do with cataloging and bringing the books in. That will monitor how those come in. Are there any questions on the bills?
Platinum CCTV. That's our cameras.
We're replacing all of the external cameras on both buildings because they're very old.
So we can see.
Yeah, so like when somebody collapses in the parking lot, we can see if it's really a person.
Gotcha.
Not that we do that.
No, not that we do that, no, of course not.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Carter.
Yes.
Ramirez. Yes. Steele. Yes. Hamblin.
Yes.
Wallers.
Yes.
Okay, director's report. Sarah?
We are continue to have new patrons, 281 new patrons this month. Our door count continues. We're getting ready for the summer reading program, which is Dive into a Good Book. We have many great programs coming, a magic show, kitchen, music, one-on-one computer training that's coming from,
That would be Mr. Prinos.
yep, we'll be doing one-on-one computer training for those who like it. In addition, we had the YA, the new head of YA met with myself and the rest of the committee to review the books that were asked for reconsideration. Met on Friday with the new head. They discussed the 3 books, went through them, and they just had some questions for our legal team to find out what the issues might be, and so we're waiting for legal advice to come back to the committee. We have an art installation coming, which is the cicada. It will be dressed up as Hercule Poirot. Agatha Christie's character will be hanging from the front of the book drop at Oswego. She said she might do it tonight or tomorrow. And you can go around the Chicago area and find these different art installations of cicadas artistically decorated. The Friends have bought 2 little free libraries for the library. One is barn-shaped, and we're going in front of the barn. Where we also have a landing pad for the bus that comes from the Park District when they do tours. And that will have a bench on it. And then the little free library here at Montgomery has more of an Art Deco look. And you'll also have a dog treat dispenser box and dog bags dispenser box. And the Friends are also paying for the dog treats. In addition, the Friends have paid for a local artist, has done all the windows that go with this Dive into a Good Book theme. You'll see all the artistic ocean windows on the 2 buildings. That is a local artist, and that is paid for by the Friends of the Library.
It's very nice.
They're so nice.
The blacktop looks nice in front of the barn.
Yes.
Very nice.
So the bus won't get stuck when it rains. The bus won't get stuck when it rains.
Yeah. I thought you were going to jump right to the bookmobile.
No, it would be a very nice place to park it.
It needed to be thicker if we were going to park a bookmobile.
Yeah, it would be a perfect spot. You could keep the books in the barn. I mean, it's just, you have a great suggestion.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, could I have a motion on the director's report, please?
I'll make a motion for the approval of the director's report.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Deal, yes. Martyr.
Yes.
Ramirez.
Yes.
Wallers.
Yes.
Tamlin.
Yes. Okay, committee reports, you have the minutes that we approved earlier, where the finance committee worked on the working budget, which is on the agenda tonight. They also dealt with salaries, and that's on the agenda tonight. And then the industrial park abatement, which we approved earlier tonight. So all three of those things are from the finance committee. Do we have any other committees we need to schedule?
Not at this time. We'll probably need a finance. And I spoke with Andrew Kim, who did our long-term financial. He
Yes.
said he's happy to meet in July, August, whenever, and that would be to go over that multi-year plan for finances, and that's going to take more of a deep dive. So that would be a future finance committee meeting, not next month or two, but maybe later in summer.
Is that a special meeting or is that at a regular meeting?
We were
Since
going to
we
try
don't
a
have-
regular meeting, but if we get into it and start chatting, my thought would be to have a special meeting. Would July be a decent month to try to do that? We can send out a couple of dates and do a round robin and see who's available.
Yeah, maybe in the end of July, another first 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, we'll send it out and make sure I'd like everybody to be there because
Yeah.
it's interesting stuff and we've always been interested in finances and that type of thing for the library. Okay? All right, we'll try to make that work. Moving on. New unfinished business, no unfinished business. Moving on to new business, staff workshop, Friday, August 2nd. Sarah?
So we have one day a year that we close for staff improvement day, and this is Friday, August 2nd, which is right after the end of summer reading. We'll be having active shooter training and threat training with the library staff, as well as regular department meetings, a State of the Library address, and we'll be kind of working together through some interesting, we have speakers coming, so that'll be nice.
Okay. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion to close both library buildings on Friday, August 2nd for library staff training day.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Roll call.
Ramirez.
Yes.
Martyr.
Yes.
Tamlin.
Yes.
Wallers.
Yes.
Deal, yes.
Auditor, our annual audit, we've had Weber for several audits now. We had other auditors before them. We switched 4 different ones.
We had 4 different ones since I've been here.
Okay. And we switched auditors and we went back to Weber because the new one that we picked didn't do the job.
They didn't file this one.
Okay. So with that background, I'd entertain a motion to approve the audit for this year with Weber and Associates with a dollar amount, $14,400.
I'll make a motion to approve the audit with Weber and Associates for the amount of $14,400.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Wallers.
Yes.
Martyr.
Yes.
Tamlin.
Yes.
Ramirez.
Yes.
Deal, yes.
Thank you. Okay, in your packet, you have salary information synopsis.
What page?
It should be 54. It should be right in the back of the Weber signing.
Yep.
And Finance Committee went through all the scenarios. And their recommendation to the board was, I believe, 4%. Is that correct?
Mhm.
And this would be our action for all staff except the director. Was handled separately. Sarah also included the CPI on the side of that chart.
I would make a motion to approve the salary increase for staff for cost of living at 4%.
Okay,
I'll second it.
thank you. Questions or comments?
So when we did the kind of the salary restructure, or am I remembering that correctly? We did like a whole salary restructure thing.
That's right.
Yeah. When we did that, what was the increase in that? Is that the same as what we see here, where you have each of the fiscal years have a certain percent? Or was there other adjustments made in that restructuring?
This was the general, but there were other adjustments for the minimum wage increases, and then the salary increases for the minimum wages, they went up for different areas. So you had the circulation clerks for the librarians, and we had different areas.
So my comments, it's nothing against the staff, but I look at the economy, I look at what's going on, and I know how many people in the private sector are not only not getting raises, sometimes they're getting laid off, they're having that. And I look at, we have a pretty strong history of increases. We have a string of 4% in a row, and you compound that over each raise year after year, that's a pretty steady, healthy increase. And then when I start looking at, if we continue that track, and we go into the future on that track, where is that gonna put us in terms of, which is our biggest budget item with the library's salaries. So, just a comment or a thought for the rest of the trustees, that's my concern.
The salary scale you approved does have a maximum for every position, so it can't just increase indefinitely, in perpetuity, stay there for 40 years. There's a cutoff.
Thank you for.
And we do a study, I think, every 5 to 10 years to make sure we're matching what other libraries have for each position.
Right. So we would make adjustments based on that,
Yes.
potentially anyway, right?
And then Andrew Kidd did write into, with the percentages of an increase in salary up through, I believe, he did 20 years, so that would show how it was. And we have, I think the standard is 70%, we have less than 70% spent on salaries.
That was the Purdue study, the graduate students from Purdue
Yes.
came in and studied our system. And at that time, there might have been a percent attached to it, but it was a lot different between different positions because we were out of whack. And they helped us get back. I think it took us a couple, 3 years to do that. Any other questions or comments?
Is the motion here with you mentioned that the recommendation was 4%. I don't see that on the motion here. Is that the recommendation of the motion?
That's the motion I made, is the 4%.
It was for the board's consideration.
But that's what we're voting on here.
That's correct. Anything else? Okay. Roll call, please.
Deal, yes. Wallers?
Yes.
Tamblin?
Yes?
Smarter?
No.
Ramirez?
Did we get a second on that? I'm sorry, I only had that Pete made the motion.
There was a second, because we wouldn't.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah,
Pete made the
Pete,
motion.
and you seconded.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I thought it was you, Jim, maybe.
I apologize.
That's good. You're up. You can give me
Is that
credit.
okay?
Is that okay?
Is that okay? Okay.
Okay.
Jim
Okay. Next item is working budget. And you have a sheet, 55, page 55 and 56. That was presented to finance.
Yes, we made one small adjustment of $2,000 added to the databases to have a new children's database that they just found very, very recently that they're very excited about. And so I took that off of the extra money that we had at the very bottom for the revenue and put it into the database so we could try that this year. But that's the only adjustment. Everything else is within budget. And you can see the budget going out through 2028. I did use Andrew Kim's number from the PMA. They were very conservative, both on the income and the expenditure amounts. And it was reviewed by the finance committee.
The sheet, informative. Could we have a motion on the working budget, please? 13D.
Motion to approve the working budget for fiscal year 25.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Second. Other questions or comments? If not, roll call.
Margaret.
Yes.
Keel. Yes. Ramirez.
Yes.
Wallers.
Yes.
Tamlin.
Yes. Okay, we already had the abatement agreement. Policy review. First reading, unintended children's policy. Sarah?
This is an updated unintended children's policy. We don't have the old one in there because it was basically, I think, 3 sentences. And it just said 8 years old and under. And that was about it. And we called the police if you left them for an extended amount of time. So this is to update that policy. It's on the very back of all of it. So we've raised the age to 14. So no child under the age of 14 left unattended. And we've now said the parent or legal guardian determines the child is mature enough to stay in the library if they're 14 and over. They're able to communicate their full name, their parent, their legal guardian, and or their caregiver's name and a phone number upon request. Since we have some differently able people, sometimes we have a difficult time communicating with them, so we want to be able to do that. As well as the children have to follow the rules of behavior outlined in that policy. It also goes on to say children left unattended would be deemed at risk, and we would call local law enforcement if it was an extended amount of time. And then also with our closing, if the children under 14 are left and we cannot contact or locate a guardian, parent, or caregiver, again, we would call the police department to have them be part of this conversation with the children and the parents.
Did legal kind of give us that age?
Yes, legal did.
And then, was there any discussion, I don't see it here, but was there any discussion about some sort of parents need to sign them in, put emergency contact info down, or anything for that nature?
I don't think we want our staff to be responsible for any child at the library. Like if they're signing them in, that kind of gives us the responsibility, and I think that's what we're trying to not have. We don't want to be like a babysitting service.
Or be responsible if we lose sight of a child.
So we had kids dropped off.
Yes, and left.
And I'm assuming the parents are usually not coming in with them, they're just dropping them off out there.
Well, I mean, I stood next to an infant the other day. Whose infant is this? So they're not coming, the baby and the carrier isn't coming in alone. But some of them are. Some of them are fine, and you wouldn't know. And some of them.
It's interesting. I feel like I have memories of going to the library in junior high because it was very close to my junior high school. So I would just walk across the street with my friends and like we would study and do our homework there and hang out, and like we were in junior high, so we were not older than 14, like we were, probably 11, 12. But yeah.
So how do you, so if we're not doing any sort of signing, how do we enforce the age when we don't know exactly for sure how old they are?
There's a visual And if the child looks really young, looks
Yeah.
like the child's unaccompanied, and maybe then we have an interaction with the staff, and it's determined by asking their age. If they're underage, that would be.
I think the 14 is from the state law that says you can't have anyone under 14 cannot be left, right? I think the main thing is if we're having issues with someone, we want to have a policy that we can fall back on. We've told, we don't want people walking up and interrogating everyone unless they're, we've had people drop off 7-year-olds and come back in like 3 hours. If they're visibly very young, we will ask for as the parent. But like if it's a 12-year-old studying quietly,
Yeah.
I don't think our staff is going to be
No
questioning.
issues like that.
Does that include for programs as well?
Programs would be, because the parent would be bringing them.
But they would not go to the program, they would probably leave, right?
Well,
Well, they should be leaving the building.
I think I've done like 3D printing programs before where I've had like junior high and kids and they were all without parents.
Well, the parent would be in the room with them, Bob, but they should still.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Some might leave and come back.
right.
So in the case of like the 7-year-old, here you said if, at the end it says you'll call the police within 10 minutes if they're still here. But what if you have, clearly there's that 7-year-old and it's been 2 hours, would you call the police immediately at that point, or do you wait till someone picks them up, or?
I think we would have to call the police. If it was like a 7-year-old who's been at the library for 2 hours with no adult,
Yeah.
I think.
So that's not in here, do we need it in here, does that matter, you'll just do it anyway?
I think it says if they're under 14 with no adult, it's at risk and we would call the police, right?
Consider possibly at risk for the well-being of the child.
Well, the last sentence says if the parent, legal guardian, and/or caregiver of a child under the age of 14 cannot be contacted or located within 10 minutes of closing. So that's why I was asking that question. Do you need something to give you the ability to do this anytime other than just within 10 minutes of closing? And then in terms of calling the police, or do we not need to have that in there?
Well, I think the last paragraph deals with closing, but I think the second to last is just in general within time, when the safety of the child is.
Okay, got it. I hear your.
So that kind of gives it like a general feel, if we're concerned about the child's safety.
Right, it's in there, correct.
And hopefully, in the past, what we've done is first try to contact the parent and say, it appears that your child is here by themselves. Please come pick up your child, or be with your child.
I wouldn't assume our first response would be call the police.
No.
I think
Although the police are lovely.
Yes, we love the police.
I want to make sure that I put that out there. But,
And also, as children get phones younger and younger, it seems it would maybe be a high likelihood that even that 7-year-old might have a way to contact their parents these days. So we could always be like, can you call your parents? Do you know your phone number?
yeah, and if we're knowing your phone number, and if they're afraid to use the phone, sometimes they're given it just for emergencies, then we should call them from the library.
Yeah. Even I know, some parents that are very much against the phones, they give them those basic, those shell phones that are here's your emergency contacts. So
We get the emergency.
yes.
Hopefully they're not at Fox Valley Mall.
Right.
I'm at the Fox Valley Mall, I'm on my way.
In general, from having worked in the kids and teen departments, staff does not want to call the police. Unless it's really you're 7 and your parents have been gone for hours.
And
They're
you're losing your
typically
mind
not going to call the
yeah.
police, on a 13-year-old who has a cell phone. But if it's, I think we want to have it in there, if it's a problem, you want to have something to fall back on.
Understood.
Yeah.
And it's the first reading, so.
First reading.
Yes.
They'll come back to see us, so if you think of something in the meantime, check with Sarah. Okay? Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to public comment. The board will now receive public comment concerning items on this agenda, as well as communications and reports from citizens or representatives from other agencies. Such comments should not include discussion of personnel matters, which should be brought directly to the attention of the director. This board meeting is a meeting held in public. It's not a meeting of the public. It is the prerogative of the board president to, recognize members of the audience If you are recognized to address the board, you are asked to stand, identify yourself to address the whole board. Your comments are limited to 3 minutes, please. With that, Barb, Richard.
Thank you. I want to highlight for you an ancient occurrence with timeless application. And since our discussions have revolved around materials in your children's section, I'm going to reference a children's level rendition titled Who Needs a Boat by Marilyn Ashbrook. God spoke to Moses and said, I have heard my people crying. In our case, God has heard the crying of Julie and other moms whose young kids lost their innocence last year as they entered what they expected to be a fun, enriching environment, but proved to be polluted with intermittent filth. God has also heard the cries of the children, their tears perhaps too deep to surface, over the burden of being introduced to sexuality before they were ready, and of being presented with the idea that abnormal is normal, which assaults the very conscience they were born with. God went on to say to Moses, I want you to speak to the king. Likewise, we citizens are here to speak to Board President Tamblyn, and for many of us, it is because the God of the Bible has instructed us to do so. So Moses went to the king multiple times and told him, God says to let my people go. In this case, let the children go. But the king replied, I do not know God, and I will not let the children go. Last month's abrupt dismissal, once again, by Mr. Tamblyn, of board member Martyr's request that a meeting be scheduled to discuss the citizen concerns is what prompted this presentation about Pharaoh of old. The pattern of repeated requests and repeated refusals is the same. The hardness of heart is on display. If you remember, by God's own hand, the scenario did not end well for Pharaoh. It also did not end well for his army, which, in this case, parallels the board members supporting Mr. Tamblyn's stance. The king's army was swished away, never to bother God's people again. I would like to close by reading part 2 of the poem Wisdom is Calling, found in America's Book of Books. Wisdom calls aloud in the open air and raises her voice in the public places. How long will scorners find pleasure in lacking? How long will fools hate knowledge? Repent when I reprove. I will pour out my spirit to you. I will make my words known to you. Because you refused when I called, and no one paid attention when I put out my hand, but instead you neglected my counsel and would not accept my reproof, I in turn will laugh at your distress and mock when terror overcomes you. Yes, when terror overtakes you like a storm, when distress and trouble assail you. Scoffers will call on me, but I won't answer. They will seek me earnestly, but they won't find me, because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of God. They refused my counsel and despised my reproof. They will bear the consequences of their own way, for the smug overconfidence of fools will destroy them.
It's
But
time, Jen.
those who pay attention to me will live securely. Yes, wisdom is calling.
Thank you. Molly?
Hi, I'm Molly Krusky. I have good news tonight. I get to deliver good news. This is a word from May 10th, 2024, so that's just 12 days ago. And God will be faithful regardless of Pharaoh's decision. God says, "Watch, for this is now the season and the time of justice, and my justice shall be served for the sake of the children. For the ground shakes and the tidewaters rise, but so does justice for the children. Therefore, watch what shall arise as a new house shall come into this nation." This part's for you, Jim. "And I will sweep through this land to restore honor to the children. It shall come through the House and the Senate. Yes, it shall even come with a new presidency. And there shall come justice throughout the courts for the sake of the children. And this shall affect the schools and the curriculum. It will even affect what shall be allowed regarding certain entertainment. For you will say, 'Could this be possible in a land called America?' God says, 'You don't understand the new era you are in, nor do you understand the justice that will be served at my hand. Therefore watch what happens, and watch who I bring to the forefront. They shall be celebrated among the children, but there shall also be those who will be brought to justice because of what they have done to the children. And I will do it. For those who think that this is the end of all things, the Spirit of God says, 'Why do you, through fear-mongering, steal a generation, their future? For I say, as the Father of lights, I shall light a generation of children that shall be part of a remnant to bring forth my glorious church. Therefore watch, great shakings to those that have done injustice. I speak of institutions even. I speak even in the area of creativity, animation, movies, and music. God says there's something new that will arise, and you shall see it. The Lord says, I will show you what justice looks like, but I will also show you what righteousness that will be established among children looks like. And there will be a holiness that will arise among the children of this day. They will say, 'Let us go to the house of the Lord. Let us sing to the Lord of all. Let us worship the Father.' Children shall dance in the streets. They shall gather in the streets with their parents. And it shall not be in protest of what is coming, but it shall be in celebration and marching to declare the majesty of God who reigns among men. For they have tried to pollute the children. Ha, God says, there shall come a holiness from the children that shall arise in this day. Watch as they abhor evil. They will resist evil, says the Lord. They will crave righteousness." So you guys might want to think about getting maybe some different books.
Thank you. Margaret?
Good evening, I'm Margaret Sheehan from Oswego. And first, I'd like to comment on today's agenda, the unattended children's policy. I think that will correct a lot of problems that we see in the comments. So I am very much for it. As I said before, unless the books jump off the shelves and chase children through the stacks, the only way to correct that is through parent involvement, and this is parent involvement. Next, I'd like to discuss a quick test on how to recognize child pornography. It's a silent test. Don't have to share your results. Last October, when homeless Ben Franklin read from Genderqueer at this meeting, he did not read it out of a book. He read it from his computer. And those that say that it is child pornography, not one voice spoke up and said, why does he have child pornography on his computer? Which is, of course, illegal. Even though there was a policeman in the room, the policeman had said that it is free speech. But no one spoke up who said that they believed this particular book was child pornography. That one person spoke up and said that why does homeless Ben Franklin have this on his computer? So it's either child pornography or it isn't. You do not get a pass on child pornography because he's on your side. And finally, I would like to read from 1 Samuel 12, 24 and 25. But be sure to fear the Lord and serve him faithfully with all your heart. Consider what great things he has done for you. Yet, if you persist in doing evil, both you and your king shall perish. Luckily, we don't have a king available. Thank you.
Ellen?
I'm Dr. Ellen Weinstein. I also live in Oswego. I happen to be a child psychologist. And as a result, I am very well acquainted with what is developmentally appropriate for children of various ages. I simply wanted to give my praise to the library board for basically conducting themselves and these meetings in a professional manner, regardless of the challenges that have come up this year. You know, people are entitled to have various viewpoints, but the meetings have remained respectful, regardless of whether one point of view prevails over another or not. So I just simply want to keep the library as a place where people have access to information of all kinds at all ages. And as a result, it is up to parents to police what is appropriate for their own children, but not for what is appropriate for someone else's. But thank you all really for the job you're doing.
Catherine?
I'm Catherine, and I just wanted to restate why some of us are here, that we just are simply asking that some of the books that were mentioned earlier are moved out of the section for minors into the adult section. But I do want to acknowledge that there is a legal meeting, so I do appreciate that. That is, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. With that being said, the next item on the agenda is a closed agenda for purchase, lease of real property for the use of public body and/or employment. I'm sorry. Could I have a motion to go to adjourn to go into executive session?
I'll make a motion to adjourn, go into executive session.
Second?
Second.
Roll call?
Wallers,
Yes.
Field, yes. Hamblin,
Yes.
Ramirez,
Yes.
and Martin.
Yes.
Okay, we'll take a break for a minute or two, and then we'll go into executive session.
Aye.
Okay. Upcoming scheduled meetings. June 26th is our next meeting, 2024, at 5:30 at the Oswego campus. We'll also try to get some dates together and get those to you to meet with Mr. Kim. With that being said, could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. We'll see you in June. Keep your head down.